Every masterpiece hides a secret, and Paul Cézanne's The Large Bathers is no exception. At first glance, it may seem like a simple scene, a group of women by a river. But the longer you look, the more the painting shifts, revealing hidden layers, strange distortions, and a vision that forever changed the course of modern art. This is not just a painting, it's a journey into how we truly see the world. Paul Cézanne's The Large Bathers is a painting that slowly reveals itself the longer you look. At first glance, it seems simple enough. A group of nude women by a river, a subject that has been painted countless times. The composition is built on a clear geometry of triangles, one shape enclosing the figures on the left, another for those on the right, and a larger one formed by the trees arching over everyone. But if you pause and examine more carefully, small details begin to emerge. Faint figures across the river, a swimmer in the water, the unsettling fact that none of the women have distinct faces, and how their bodies seem to blur into each other, as if Cézanne painted over them again and again, but left traces behind. The longer you study the canvas, the more it feels like an energetic clash of forms and colors, created with a spontaneity that borders on disorder. Yet, appearances are misleading. Cézanne worked on this painting for 7 years, right up until his death. What looks accidental is deliberate. His distortions of form and color no longer shock us today because modern art has accustomed us to such experiments, but in 1906, at its first exhibition, the effect was groundbreaking. Picasso famously declared, "Cézanne is the father of us all," recognizing him as the artist who opened the door to Cubism and the many abstract movements of the 20th century. At the same time, The Large Bathers looks backward. It echoes traditions of earlier artists Titian, Poussin, Eakins, who also painted bathing figures. Certain poses recall famous works of the past. The woman stretching upward beside the tree resembles an 18th century sculpture of Diana, while the figure on the right, with her lifted knee and turned shoulders, recalls the classical Venus de Milo. It's important to point out that none of the 14 women in The Large Bathers were drawn from live sitters. Cézanne borrowed their forms from other artworks and illustrated sources, which contributes to their strange detachment figures that feel less like individuals and more like echoes. This sense of distance permeates the canvas. Out of the 14 women, 6 turn their backs to the viewer. Some appear to merge into the surrounding foliage, as though they are either materializing or fading away. Most haunting are the gaps of raw canvas that punctuate the figure's patches of white that aren't painted at all, but bare surface, breaking the illusion as if another reality is intruding into the scene. These interruptions raise questions. What exactly is Cézanne doing here? What do these gaps, distortions, and fragmentations amount to? His short, blocky strokes flatten and reduce the world into geometry, giving the impression not of a completed scene, but of one in flux on the edge of forming or vanishing. Cézanne's art grows out of Impressionism, a movement deeply concerned with the direct experience of light and color. Impressionist painters worked outdoors, capturing fleeting effects of weather, atmosphere, and time by quickly recording what they saw. Cézanne adopted their bright, unexpected palette, but he pushed it further. For him, color was not only a way to describe how light touches the world, it became a way to construct form itself. Since the Renaissance, artists had relied on perspective to simulate depth. Cézanne recognized that perspective was ultimately a visual convention, a kind of code the eye accepts to read space on a flat surface. His brushwork and color challenged that code, suggesting another way of seeing. Pure perception, seeing before thought interprets, doesn't always follow orderly rules. It can be chaotic, unpredictable. This is why Cézanne embraced distortions, shifting objects out of proportion, pulling background shapes forward with unexpected colors, or letting foreground figures dissolve into the surrounding framework of the composition. He was exploring the difference between what we know we see and how the act of seeing actually unfolds. The human mind is astonishingly quick at imposing order. Within moments, it takes the fragmented, almost anarchic flood of sensory input and assembles it into coherent wholes. This happens so rapidly that we never truly glimpse that raw stage of perception. And maybe that's fortunate because unfiltered experience might overwhelm us, like a shock we're not equipped to endure. In The Large Bathers, Cézanne attempts to capture that threshold where vision is still forming, before it's stabilized by understanding. On the canvas, this uneasy state is suspended, inviting us to look directly at what is usually hidden from consciousness. It's a confrontation with the unsettled, fleeting character of reality itself. Notice the small figure across the river. Many believe this is Cézanne placing himself in the scene, poised between two worlds. The ordered, classical arrangement of the bathers in the foreground and the softer, impressionistic church landscape beyond. If we could somehow flip the perspective and stand where that figure stands, the scene might appear as lush and harmonious as any Renaissance or Baroque depiction of nudes in nature. But Cézanne denies us that view. Instead, from the vantage point he forces upon us, the painting grants a fleeting glimpse of something more disquieting, not the idealized past, but the raw immediacy of the real. In the end, The Large Bathers is not just a painting to be looked at, it is an invitation to see differently, to stand at the edge between beauty and unease, between harmony and fragmentation, between the familiar and the real. Cézanne leaves us with more questions than answers. But perhaps that is the true power of his work. It unsettles us into deeper reflection. What about you? How does this painting strike you? Do you see calm beauty? Or do you feel the hidden tension? Share your thoughts in the comments. Let others join the conversation by sharing this story. And don't forget to like if Cézanne's vision left you thinking in new ways.